Welcome, friends, gamers, and other enthusiasts to the BoydofZINJ channel. I hope you enjoy your time here and the video. Please like, subscribe, do all the bell icons, and comment. It really does help small content creators like myself and others by doing so. If you click on the notifications, it may even let others and the YouTube gods know that they may enjoy these videos. With that being said, let's play. Okay, this is episode 6 of the full version of City Skylines, the PC version with all paid content DLC. Uh, no cheats, no mods, no console commands, just a full version. And we're role playing with Battletech lore to make the city grow more organically and to add some dimension to the city. Every street and object I'm putting down will have a Battletech reference or something referencing the city and its inhabitants and citizens as well. Here it is. I hope you enjoy. If you remember from episode 5, we rearranged the entrance to the city. I decided to go offline and tweak it a little bit better. I believe this is a much better look. If you notice that the into the city has actually proper roundabouts, that was the key, I believe. And I made the roundabouts the circle rounds or whatever these are called, highways. That way, trucks and traffic can go through it much faster and more efficiently. And I'm just, making sure all the names are matching. Unity refers to the capital of the planet. And east side, of course, it refers to it being on the east side of the highway, and then the west side will be, or west will be, west of the highway. I consider up right now, as the map is looking, to be north. Left is obviously west, down is south, and right is east. Okay, now the highway is eventually going to go forward, but for right now, I'm just having it as a turnaround on top. It leads nowhere, so I'm paying a little extra in fees and taxes to support it, such as fate. And you notice that the main street, because of those circles, is broken up to 3 different areas now. Main Street itself, then Main Boulevard, and Main Avenue. I noticed that the education is low, so we're going to need to add another elementary school. High school wise, we're still good. The elementary school, if you remember, was Alexander Kerensky. Again, very, very famous person in Battletech lore. Now, where do we want to put a high school? I'm thinking the elementary school will be a high capacity somewhere down here. The other the other elementary school, I'm sorry for referring to a high school. The other elementary school is northeast of here. So northwest, this will cover most of the area. And I purposely left lots of extra area in here to give big buildings a place to breathe and be entered in the area. And yes, I know it's going to cut off some of the residential areas. And I want to make sure that this area has sufficient infrastructure to support the upcoming elementary school. And I'm going to pick the high capacity elementary school, and I want to make sure that that there's going to be at least a bicycle lane that goes to this elementary school, so that way people are going. Remember, Comstar. There was a Comstar person, part of the city council, who really likes bicycles, and we made an agreement with Comstar support to add bicycle lanes throughout the city. So this is to please Comstar, and because it's a elementary school, we're also going to have uh, a privacy fence. That way, the school children aren't interfering with the citizens, right? And likewise, citizens can't just go over and bother the school children as well. And sometimes these fences are a little goofy, so I find that if you turn off all the features and just eyeball it, it's the best way to make sure that these fences look more or less lined. I'm sure there's better ways out there, but this is the best way I can find. Otherwise, I'm going to spend like an hour trying to fix these fences. And who wants to do that? And even though this is a big building, I think look-wise, it fits the motif, right? This area seems to be like the newer area of the town where you start seeing more modern buildings. So this will fit the area. And this is supposed to be a large school. With that being said, I do believe that since this is a large elementary school, that there should be some playgrounds for their school children, right? So let's add some playgrounds. This does nothing other than make it look nice. But I think that a true elementary school would have such facilities for their school children, right? You want, I'm not even sure what these are called anymore. But these, I remember seeing them as a kid. And of course, you want some benches, maybe, for the teachers or parents who come and visit. So you want some place for them to sit. And look, a nice, you know, I think a play set off to the side a little bit. Now over the fence, and I'm going to play around with this. But again, does this add anything to? Does this do anything to the building or to the atmosphere? No. Does it look better? Yes. And does it make sense? Yes, which is why I'm adding it. And it doesn't have to be symmetrical. Nothing in real life is truly symmetrical. I know sometimes I have that OCD where, oh, if the left side has it, the right side has it. No, it doesn't. Not all the time. In some, street lights, sure, that kind of makes sense. You know, all those decorations are not symmetrical. And again, you know, if someone's coming and visits and waiting for their school children, sometimes they'll be sitting down, maybe get off their cars and sitting on these benches. That's what I'm putting there. And of course, maybe they have trash. You want to make sure that they can throw their trash all inside the fence. And then let's throw in some trees to make it look pretty. I'm not an expert at this, but again, I'm trying to make a city that's both realistic and feels like a city you'd want to grow in, right? I want this to be an area where if I was going to school or if I lived near this area, I would be proud of this area. And I have different types of trees, make it look pretty. Maybe I should stick with one type of tree. Tell me in comments if I should stick with one type of tree or having the mixture of trees is better. And remember, lore-wise, I would imagine that there's multiple trees in this area, right? Because these are all transplanted and added by the colonists who came from another planet and terraformed this planet, right? And again, it doesn't have to be symmetrical, but let me know in the comments. Should I keep it all the same type of tree, or does it look more natural for them to be different trees, different size trees, just like I have right now in the elementary school? Please let me know. I mean, I would love to hear your comments. This elementary school needs a name. Now I'm thinking ROM. ROM is the Comstar Intelligence Branch, and this is in the Comstar area in general, right? So I'm thinking that's a good name. All right, the date is March 22nd, 2034, and Comstar is releasing a news report on this day. Let's read it. Comstar Newsfeed, March 22nd, 2034 edition. Central article. Boydton gets a new modern elementary school with Comstar funding. And sure enough, there's a picture of the school. Left article. Scientists declare trees are safe. The public still unsure of these organic structures. Are they needed? Right article. And this is the most important one, even though it's the right article. After years of negotiation, Krita approves fishing in Boydton. And you notice that I added a fishing pier and, of course, the House Krita symbol. If you haven't done so, please listen to my lore talk about House Krita in City Skylines lore. Let's take a look at this new fish industry and what happened. But before we look at the new fishing industry, let me explain what happened. In a secret move, House Krita sent delegation from the bureaucracy organization, the Order of the Five Pillars, to negotiate the final quote-unquote deal for the fishing rights and exploitation within Boydton. The Cretan delegation arrived unannounced and surprisingly at mid-morning at the requested an emergency city council meeting. Right now, Boydton is small and only has one other official city council seat, other than the mayor, naturally. This one other seat is held by the Comstar faction. Comstar will always send 3 people to represent their interests, but only one seat, and thus they only have one seat, and thus only one vote. The first thing on the city council agenda is the Krita delegation requested a city council seat within Boydton. This city council seat would represent both their current and future interests for Boydton, and also serve their citizens and needs within Boydton. The Lord and Mayor of Boydton, the family representative of the BoydofZINJ family, quickly agreed to this term. No need for a city council vote. It was a just and logical request, and since Boydton is growing as now a busy town, this additional seat made sense and will be needed for the future of Boydton. In fact, additional council seats will be needed soon enough as well. As a point of clarification, I might have said busy city, I meant busy town, as noted previously. Because this was an emergency and unscheduled city council meeting, the Comstar representatives were a wee bit late. The 3 representatives that did arrive to the meeting agreed to the first request as well. The 3 Comstar representatives for the city council was James Lewis. He was the representative, or is the representative of the Word of Blake faction within Comstar, and an avid bicyclist, if you remember. Sabrina Webb was also there, and is the head and representative of the Comguard faction within Comstar, and resides in Boydton as well. The last person and last representative of Comstar is the person representing the Order. Previously, it was Todd Holmes. However, Mr. Holmes works at the Comstar coal power plant, and due to power grid needs, was needed there versus being able to arrive at the city council. As a result, a different representative came to the city council meeting to represent Comstar. The new representative that came was a new person to the city council and a representative of the Order faction within Comstar. It was Adept Willow Smith. She is someone whom we recently showed in the previous episode. Please see and view the Krita Lore Talk video that I recently made for more information about her. And of course, about House Krita. Anyhow, Adept Willow Smith is well educated and related to the Cretan coordinator. The Krita coordinator is the quote unquote the faction leader of House Krita for the entire planet of Neo Terra. And recently, she has joined Comstar faction and left the Krita faction. She is also considered royalty and has moved to Boydton and lives near the newly created high capacity elementary school. The second point and thing on the city council agenda was the fishing rights and negotiations within Boydton for House Krita. Previously, top Cretan scientists and scientists from all across Neo Terra has declared fishing to be safe in and around the city of Boydton. Likewise, the Krita fishing scientist has charts of how much fishing can be done and harvested and used safely to ensure that the fish population does not decline in any significant way, which is very important for the future of Neo Terra. The Krita delegation told the Lord and Mayor of the BoydofZINJ family that only a single fish farm and fishing harbor could be allowed for the next decade. However, both the City Council, the Comstar City Council delegation, and the Lord and Mayor of Boydton saw the charts and argued that the charts indicated that we could fish up to 4 times that amount and still be safe before there would be any type of issues for Neo Terra. The Cretan delegation balked at the thought and indicated that caution would be wise. Hours and hours of debate happened. It was the new Comstar representative, Adept Willow Smith, who successfully argued that it would be logical for Boydton to have access to 2 fishing farms, 2 fishing harbors, and a local public pier for light residential use. Adept Willow Smith argued that citizens of Boydton were nearing the point of starvation, which is true, and that the planet as a whole needed for us to start exporting fish to the rest of the planet. Remember, this is a weird situation, and we're going with lore to explain why fishing is so important. Adept Willow Smith used her royalty to push the agenda forward. Please listen to my Krita lore talk for Neo Terra to get more information about Willow Smith. The Korean delegation eventually caved in and also agreed to for Boydton to grow and use to the fishing buildings. The last thing on the city council agenda was the Krita residence. LFMC, that's Lima Foxtrot Mike Charlie, is the largest manufacturer and supplier of fish in all of Neo Terra and one of the largest corporations in the House Krita faction. LFMC is an acronym and actually stands for the Luthean Fishery and Manufacturing Corporation. So anytime you hear LFMC, it stands for Luthean Fishery Manufacturing Corporation. This organization has taken Neo Terra by storm. It has led the way to safely and efficiently to fish the oceans and waters in and around Neo Terra, and introduce several effective methods of sustainable fishing to ensure future generations will have access to fish and nutrients on Neo Terra. If you remember, Neo Terra did have some native fish in the oceans and waters of Neo Terra, but these fish lacked were not able to be consumed by humans for nutrients, which is a terrible situation. They offer no nutritional value in eating them. As a result, the House Krita invented ways to implant fish from Terra to Neo Terra's waters. And it was a hard ordeal, and it took almost 2,000 years to do so. As a result, LFMC will supply the workers and the manufacturing and fishing boats for this endeavor. However, a large parking lot will be needed to provide a permanent residence and a permanent, parking space for the workers. Likewise, permanent residence will be need to be created for the workers of LFMC and the fishing industry. This may even spark other House Creative faction citizens to migrate into Boydton. As a result, the House Creative faction gave us explicit information on how the House Creative faction would like to have their residents zoned in. This ended the city council meeting, and within hours, as you notice, the House Creative faction started building the fishing factories. And you'll see on the screen now that we're looking at one of the fish factories. And of course, this is going to be the LFMC fish factory. Likewise, there's also fish farms. And of course, there's a large creative parking lot that we had to supply to house all the workers and the workers' cars. You know that we have 2 fishing farms and 2 fishing harbors, as well as a fishing pier. This is all Bushido Seaside area. I hope you enjoy the lore talk. Let's look at the city a little bit. Now, another thing we did too is we also did add some warehouses as well. These warehouses are designed to, keep the fish nearby and the supply of fish, so that way we could start exporting them to the rest of the world. And of course, in cities, Skylines terms, we need to start making money, right? And exporting is always good. Now, on this runabout here, you notice I added these decorations. It's near the ocean, and I figure, why not have some citizens occasionally, go by the ocean and the sea and enjoy themselves, maybe have, a picnic or a barbecue. And you notice we have the bicycle lane going towards the water and the piers as well. And we do have regular industry as well. And if you remember, we had that famed ice cube factory. That's not it. We have another. And evidently, Boydton has factories for ice cube. Who would have guessed? I don't remember exactly where it's at, so I'm looking for it right now. And again, I'm looking for it. Eventually, I'll find it. The famed ice cube factory seems to be always near food cars. And sure enough, there's a hot dog van, and there is the building. It's a historical building. We're adding the fishing routes. I don't like them to overlap too much, but I'm kind of making them a little close. And I'm just trying to make it where it's 100% and just a wee bit more just in case. Now there's 2 types of fish in this area. The yellow and pink. I believe pink is salmon and yellow is anchovies. So I want to make sure I get a decent amount of both. Of course, pink's a little bit more plentiful, so it's going to be easier to get more salmon. I'm sorry, pink's not actually not salmon. It's shellfish. So I guess Boydton gets a lot of shellfishes. Shellfish. And I said, this is being a little ridiculous. Let me clean it up a little bit. And clean it up a little bit. I do. Right? This is a fishing harbor. There's a bicycle lane, and people are using the bicycle lane, so that's good. This is all right. Let's follow this person. I'm kind of curious. So he was at the harbor, the creative area, and this person is willing to use a bicycle and travel all the way to near the police station. Use that bicycle highway that I have in the middle of the residential area. Or I'm calling it a bicycle highway, bicycle lane, maybe, a bicycle bridge, perhaps. And their house is right about here-ish, I guess. Boy, this person traveled a lot on bicycle. Now, remember, this person is using a bicycle, so they don't have to use a car. So it's one less car that we're using, which is great in my opinion. That's less traffic. All right. And the fishing industry seems to be working, and they're producing stuff at the fish factory. We need to eventually make a fish market, but that's going to be closer to the created side. And that's our next agenda. We need to start making a residential area, and there's high demand for residential for House Krita. I know we need to improve our districts, our residential areas. However, we need to also improve our districts as well, is what I meant to say. Yes, we need residents and we need to grow the city, but I want to tweak the districts a bit. I want to make one or two more. I want to definitely add Bushido areas. Let me rephrase that. I'm going to add Krita areas. Now, I decided that the House Krita areas will be Bushido, at least on the main island. Maybe on the top left, the northwest island, if Krita does have an industry there, it would be called something else. However, all House Krita faction districts will be called Bushido on the main island. So Bushido Seaside is their main fishing district. Mercenary Square is a international zone. The Holy Order District is Comstar Residential in the international zone. The Old Boydton homes are residential areas in the international zone. And Acolyte Square, I think I need to divide this up. Acolyte Square is currently in the residential zone in Boydton, in the international zone in Boydton. And of course, there's the old Boydton East Industries and Boydton Ore Imports to the mid right. And really, I say East Industries, it's really like Central East. So with that being said, I see House Krita taking more of the seaside to the north of where Bushido Seaside is at, maybe a little bit northeast a bit. I'm going to respect the topography in this case. And yes, I haven't been respecting the topography, the geographic outline, but I'm going to do that. Likewise, Bushido's Seaside is not covering all of the industry areas, so we need to change that. So let's get started. And yes, I'll probably start with the residential zone next time, and I'll probably have to like demolition and destroy some of the current buildings. And you know what? We also need a public library. I want to get a public library there. And since the Krita moved in, wouldn't it be nice if House Krita donated the public library, so or help finance the public library? Yes, that's what we'll do. Future-proofing this. This is no longer East Industry, it'll be Central East, but that's too many words, so Sea East will suffice. And yes, I said too many words, really too many characters. But you understand the gist. Taking a look at our finances, we're close to being able to zone in high density stuff. No loans out. Just making sure. Electricity is still good. Water's still good. A citywide mandate, we're going to encourage biking. You know, we're doing it inadvertently now, so we might as well start doing it, you know, as a city encouragement mandate. I'm debating about some of these others. I don't think they're necessary. And again, I think we need to get a school. And yes, we will have recreational drugs in Boydton. After all, these drugs are quote unquote safer than the drugs that we use currently in real life. At least I would hope so. In the 2,000 years in the future, you would figure the pharmaceutical companies would have, taken out, more precautions. At least that's what I'm going with. Book fair. We don't have any libraries, but I want to make this education something key to Boydton, right? This is something that we want to be the star educational city, and it helps with commerce, right? So I'm thinking of a good location. And this central area seems to be a good area. We do want some additional housing, and I meant to put those housing there earlier, but must have forgot. I should have put it there, but I eventually change it and go to the west a bit, and then I'm going to make an audible and move back east a bit. It happens, right? So I'm moving the library. For me, the library is supposed to be part of the residential area, right? And I want it to be an integral part. And this is a more centralized area. Plus, if you see that green zone area, it'll affect more residents here than having to the west at the original location. And still keeps the name. It's still a house created thing. And let's put some fences around it, right? Even though it's a residential type building, or supposed to be used by residents in the residential building, and there's no loud noises coming from the library. I mean, you remember librarians, shh, you're supposed to be quiet when you're reading, so it's a good building to zone near residential buildings. But of course, you want some privacy for both the residents as well as the library, so I'm putting this fence here. And I'm using the Japanese fence because this is a Japanese building. And I find if I take off all the snap angles when putting fences, it's much easier to zone, in my opinion. Let me know in the comments if you have a different opinion on where this library should be going. So that library looks really nice, and I think even though it really won't help with people, but I think aesthetically looking that it would be nice to have a sidewalk that goes there, a pathway. So I'm going to put a pavement pathway. But I'm going to do a fancy one to have a little bit more decor over there. Now, when I get to the ground, I'm going to switch back to the pavement one because it'll link up to the existing terrain much easier. You know, it's my first attempt. It doesn't quite sync up properly. There's still a gap, and there's no way around the gap. And I say, okay, I know what's happening. Let me switch to regular pavement. And no matter what I do, it's not going to work. So I'm switching to regular pavement. And voila. Time for a bicycle lane as well. With the powers and magic of editing, I'm going to fast forward a little bit. Because some of it's going to be kind of boring. You're going to see me making lots of mistakes. No need to. Let's fast forward it. Alright, with the power and magic of editing, I fast forwarded. Notice that the pavement, the walking area is there, and there's a bicycle lane. I'm just adding some decorations and assets here. Does this affect the library or the land value in any way, shape, or form, or the people here? No. Does it look nice? Yes. You know, this is the back of the library where obviously people will be hanging out with. A beautiful area. You want some seats, some lights. I'm even adding some tables. Look how beautiful this is. Would you like to come to the library, sit down, take a seat, read a book, and have some big statues of people on the horses look at you? And I think the horses should face towards the library. Yeah, at least towards the entrance of the library, or the back entrance in this case. So, you know, this could be the front entrance as well, or the side entrance. And of course, let's add some additional lights. That way at night it looks nice. And of course, people will have trash. Don't want to litter. So let's put some trash cans out there. Again, this is just to beautify it. A different type of trash can. You know, I'm just, why not? Let's do this. I've been to the New York Public Library, the really huge one with lion statues. And I want something that's very similar to that. Which is why I'm even adding these, you know, decorative fences. And they don't have to be perfect. They're just there to keep the occasional, you know, person or, you know, from getting too close to the statue for the most part. Not meant to really keep people really out, just keep average person out, right? You still want to touch the statue, you still can. It's not like we have security here. I'm going to decorate this public library. And again, why am I doing this? Is I want to make sure that this is a city I would want to live in, and the people of Neo Terra and the Battletech Universe would want to live in at the same time too. And tell me if what you think I should do to make this more believable of a public library. Do you have any suggestions? Leave them in the comments below. Thank you. want to add one additional zone here, a small zone. This would be a mostly commercial zone. What's a good name for this zone? This is in the international zone. I don't think it's part of Comstar, so I'm just thinking something real basic. An old Boydton district. What could we put as a name? Mech Square. There you go. Something, a universal generic name. And I'm going to go with Africa in miniature theme. That way, it'll give a slightly different vibe than the other buildings, but still have like an older type look of the building, because this is still considered Old Town, right? And I think Africa in miniature will have some slightly better old looking buildings, you know, and will have a slightly different vibe than Queens and Brooklyn, right? And I'm just making sure that, what could we put? Is there anything we want to avoid here? Only thing I'm going to make a little different is I'm thinking about banning bicycles on this sidewalk. I don't know. Maybe do nothing different. Just have it as a different looking zone. Now, I'm looking at the Holy Order District. I want this to be a residential zone. So we're going to ban heavy traffic, and this is going to be NIMBY, an Old Town. So this is where residential only type vehicles should be coming to. Yeah, I think that's appropriate. I think that's what we're going to do here. You know, that would make the most sense. We don't want big industrial vehicles in that zone, right? And I'm doing the same thing here as well, because again, this is supposed to be like the rich people's neighborhood, you know. And this is where I think I'm going to divide this up into Acolyte Square and Acolyte or Adept Square zone, or make another zone called Adept something. And technically that's not a square, but you know, you get the point. And of course, you know, I don't want to use a big brush. Let's use a small brush. Now, ultimately speaking, this is still a Comstar area that I'm putting in. But I just want a slightly different zone, so I'm going to be a little cheeky breaky. And I'm also going to add two, because I see we have some industrial demand, forest industry. And there'll be Comstar forest industries, but that's fine. I don't want that road to be affected by the Acolyte Square. I want this to be, you know, we're banning high industry traffic. Now, Adept Square, well, let's call it Adept Park. We'll have traffic because I foresee it, you know, that's the difference between Acolyte Square and Adept Park. Is Adept Park allows heavy traffic, Acolyte Square does not. And we're going to go with electric cars in Adept Park. I know we don't have any commercial buildings yet, but you know, just in case, it's going to be organics. And this is where I decided to put forest industry. And we're going to zone in 4x4 zones of for forest. I already know that this is the highly green area, so green, so many trees, I can't even see it properly. Took me had to trust in my skills to get the 4x4s again. Now let's zone them in so that way they don't become generic industry and pollute everything. All right. Just making sure. All right, they're in. So, you know, that'll help with the industry a little bit. Let's see how this is working. It's time to make sure that the fishing area is in the right zone. I didn't have it all in the zone, and even though you don't need to do the water, I'm still going to put some of the water area inside Bushido Seaside District. Future-proof it, if you will. Got some commercial demand, so we're adding some commercial stuff. And we're going to add some generic industry because, of course, there needs to be a reason why there's traffic in this area. So I'm also adding some generic industry as well. It'll be needed, so this isn't going to waste. And, of course, it'll help the commercial business generate traffic, right? I want House Creative faction to have 3 zones, at least for now. They'll probably have additional districts, but the fishing industry zone, a commercial zone, and a residential primary zone. I mean, of course, there might be little mix-ups here and there, but that's what I'm thinking. So I'm going to start adding them. And again, I'm going to respect the topography and the geography at this point in the build. Later on, we'll probably terraform, but for right now, we're respecting. And this is subject to change. I'm just, putting where I think the zone should be. So let's add, and I'm thinking this will be probably the commercial type zone, but of course I'm going to call Bushido something. I'm thinking Bushido Bay, Bushido Way, Bushido Bay. That sounds good. And of course make it Korean. And yes, I know Korean is technically not Japanese, but it's close we're going to get for House Creative faction. At least without using mods. Alright, with the power of editing, I fast forward a little bit. I made the 3rd zone. We have Bushido Bay, and now we're going to have Bushido Way, which is probably going to be the residential area. That's at least the game plan for right now. I'm looking at the various districts, and there's a gap in the middle, and I'm thinking, what could I call this district? And I'm thinking Mercenary Star, and make it slightly different than the other zones. I think this will be my first tower zone, tourist industries, commercial tourist industry. Okay, let's go with that. I decided Africa in miniature. Again, this is part of old Boydton, so I want these buildings to look a little older than the rest. Also, it's going to be surrounded by a bunch of more modern looking buildings. I think So I do think that this would be an appropriate, at least something to give a different contrast, right? At least that's the game plan. Let me know in the comments what you think of this idea. I see a cat, and this is again me in the future doing a voiceover. I was going to rename it, but the cat disappeared for some reason. Go figure. And before I can rename the cat, it disappears. I think those are my first high rises, and those how they look older looking buildings. So I think that's a good contrast to the other buildings. And we have lots of residential buildings zoning up, which is good. I'm going to turn some of these to high density, but I do want some low density buildings. So some of these zones will remain the same. We are just about to end the episode, but before we do that, let's take a quick look around the city and see what various people and stuff's happening. And notice how we have lots of bicycles happening. I think that's a good thing. I wish I could be riding a bicycle right now and be good for my health, I'm sure. Another high tower, tourist building. That's good. That's good. There's a parking lot. A drugstore. Okay. I guess these workers need some drugs to make sure they, get through the day. Or prescription medicine. And there's the forest industry buildings. I only have 2 of them. Police car. Intersphere Paradox Plaza. Our infamous high capacity elementary school. Again, more bicycles. Our beautiful library. Our fish area. And we do have people visiting already, even tourists. Oh look, there's an electric car. I didn't even notice that. Okay, it's time to end the episode. Takeaways. Well, next episode we're going to have to build the residential area. Let's save the game, and I hope to see you next time. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you. It's that time of the video where I say adios. Thank you for watching. And if you're hearing this, I really like to say thank you for staying at least this long or skipping to the end. I really appreciate it. Better yet, the YouTube gods seem to enjoy it. Please like, subscribe, click on the bell icon to notification alerts. It really does help content creators like myself. I need the help. If you have any suggestions about my YouTube content or my channel or about this video, I'd love to hear it. Please leave a comment. Regardless, I'd like to thank you for watching. Stay safe, be entertained, enjoy life, and until next time, adios, goodbye. Hope your RNG is better than mine. Thank you.
All hands, initiate shutdown sequence.